Hello and welcome to the Bourbon Bear. On tonight's show, we are going to do a quick rundown of the trades as our Bears have fallen to 3-5 with the Miami Dolphins on the horizon this Sunday at noon. So a lot to take away this week. Obviously, going into the Dallas game, we had the trade of Robert Quinn, who had a baller season with 18.5 sacks last year, setting a Bears franchise record for the category. Ultimately, though, his contract as a whole was going to be a hamper next year. So the fact that we actually bit that this year, walking away from it next year, overall, I take that as a win. You got a fourth-round pick. It was kind of one of those things, your hands were tied at the time. We were hoping we could probably trade him a little earlier, but I think Poles wanted to see how competitive this team would be. And at the point we were at, even though we were 3-4, I don't think he saw us making any crazy run. And the fact that he only had 1 sack and 8 solo tackles isn't going to be a good enough stat line to keep you on the team. Getting a fourth from Philly, not going to be a great pick, it looks like, as they are currently undefeated. So not a ton of, confidence we're going to get someone great with it. But hey, it was a move. You got him off the books. You got some kind of compensation versus nothing when he fell off. Ultimately, I think that's a no-brainer trade, and they made the right move. Turning it on from there, though, we go to Roquan Smith. And once they did cut Quinn, I actually thought there was going to be a pretty good case to keep him on the books, given the extension he was asking for. I know it's a lot for a will linebacker in this 3-4 scheme. But then they dropped the bomb post the Dallas game, and unfortunately, Roquan is no longer a Chicago Bear. Cheers. You had a great run with us, my friend. We will miss you. But looking at the Roquan situation as a whole, there's a lot of factors you got to think about here. Number one, his off-the-field drama at the beginning of the year, while maybe warranted, was a little excessive, demanding a trade when he had no right to do so, didn't have an agent, so was basically breaking a lot of the league protocols, and ultimately I do think that left a bad taste in Poles' mouth. It did obviously bring about the fact that he said he was a leader, he wanted on the team, but looking into the future, all you were going to get, unless you paid him obviously a crazy amount of money, was going to be that compensatory third-round pick, which is a bummer because, again, that's a pick. You only got 1 round higher, and the Ravens are going to be somewhere in the middle to late of the second round. The 5th round pick don't value too much. And then A.J. Klein, who's only got 5 tackles on the year. It's not a great haul, but it's a haul nonetheless. Again, Poles seems to have a pretty good confidence in what he's doing with these second rounders, as we saw in Britzker and Gordon this year. So I actually do like the fact that we're going to have another chance there. But ultimately, it sucks to see Roquan go. Just the fact that, number one, he was our leading tackler and he was leading the league at one point this year, as well as the fact that when you had that 2018 defense and you saw him thrive, it was a cool sight. The big issue I do have with the trade, and it's minuscule to the benefits of it, was the fact that now you have another piece you need to get on this defense. So right now we're looking at D lineman, linebacker, possibly one more corner as safety depth, but that's a lot of holes when you have offensive line and wide receiver still as a need. That being said, though, I do think it was the right move. If you're going to grade it, I'd give it, a B+, A-. Had to be done. The situation was kind of there. What scares me a little bit, though, is I think he's going to make the Ravens that much better, and having their second-round pick, that's going to be an issue as it's going to hurt you in the long run. But moving on to Chase Claypool, who was a surprise move right before the trade deadline. And a lot of thoughts here. People are going to disagree with a lot of the takes on this, but I'm just going to give you the facts first, and then we'll kind of build it from there. So first and foremost, we did give up the Bears' second-round pick this year for Chase Claypool. There was a lot of speculation it would be the Ravens' pick, which I thought would have been awesome because, again, we're talking probably upwards of 15 slots in the draft in the second round. But unfortunately, it was the Bears. But it sounds like the reason it was that pick was to get in front of the Packers, as it seems like they were making a push, and we do not want to give Rodgers any more weapons. We want him to suffer, as his offense has done all season. So the good news there is at least you did block the Packers from getting him. Overall, with Chase, he's played in 39 games, 153 receptions on 246 targets for a completion rate of 58%. 2,044 yards on his career since 2020, 12 TDs, but only 3 since 2021, and then also 167 rush yards, which is an average of 5.2 yards a carry. So those stats, while the touchdowns came pretty much his first year in the league, you got to also factor in the fact that Big Ben, obviously was not himself in those later seasons. And then also this year you have Ken Mittens and you had Mitch throwing in the ball. So it's kind of a little bit of And he really didn't like what the coaching staff was doing. So there is some, rumors that he was a locker room hassle. Again, the TikTok drama that happened, last year. But ultimately, the Bears needed a weapon, and Poles went on he went on to the media today to tell them a little bit more about why he made the trade. He didn't like the free agent class of 2023, thought he'd have to overpay someone to get Fields a weapon, and the fact is now you're getting basically half a year for him to build chemistry in real games, not practice, and then have a whole offseason to work together as well. You are also getting him for another year on that rookie deal. He is a second-round pick, so unfortunately you do not have a fifth-year option on him. But ultimately, it is a cheap option right now for at least another year to kind of see if he works in the system. And if he doesn't work, a lot of people are saying, hey, a second-round pick's always a gamble. My disagreement there is who said you were going to use that pick at wide receiver. Poles has made it known he's going to go for best available, so you can't just say if they got a receiver in the second round, he could have been a bust. That could have been any position. So the fact of the matter is it's done, it's over. So you can't speculate in terms of what that pick would have been. But ultimately, the people said, hey, if you took a receiver in the second round and he was a bust, this is a great move because you don't know if they would. But turning that over to the draft this year now, so obviously we have our first round, the Ravens second round pick. I believe we have every round except maybe fifth was the only one. It was fifth or sixth, and as well as the 2 fourth-rounders. So there are going to be a lot of holes you can fill through the draft. And then again, with your salary now estimated around $114 million, there are positions you can buy. In my opinion, I think you focus on that guard spot, maybe a tackle. I do like what Braxton Jones has been doing this year, so I don't want to say, give up on him by any means. But if there's some talent out there that you really like, go for it. I also think you can get pretty good D linemen with bang for your buck, and obviously they need to find someone to play that 3-tech. I prefer not to use the higher picks on a 3-tech, but if he's available and it's someone great, maybe someone from Georgia, to keep the dog blood alive on the Bears, I'm all for it. So that's my thoughts right there. The Claypool trade, I'm just going to give it a B-, C+. Not a biggest fan. Don't hate it. Don't love it. Net neutral. That being said, we have our Bondo bets back in the building. So we kind of upgraded his costume a little bit. We added a bolo tie, but he is ready to roll and talk to the boys here. Bondo, how you doing today?
I'm great, and I've been missing these meetings here, and you guys know my record. It's outstanding this year. Just look it up. And Murph, if you want my picks, you got to watch the podcast.
That is true, Murph. No more texting on the side there. But Bondo, before we go into the picks, though, your thoughts on the 3 trades you had happen before the deadline?
Well, I hate to see Roquan go, and I think we could have got a first-round pick for that. I really did. Quinn, he's been around. He's long a tooth. Claypool, you got another Domer out there.
Yeah, that was the scary part also. He is a Notre Dame grad, and that's a red flag.
Now you got 2 of them out there.
Oh, boy.
Hey, the guy's been around a little bit. He had a really good rookie year. We'll see what happens. But it stinks when the Bears are giving up, it's hard to watch them.
So that being said, in terms of the giving up piece, the Bears over/under went off the year at 5.5. We're sitting at 3 wins through 8 games. Doable, but what are your thoughts here?
Well, I still think they will. I think Fields has really progressed in a real positive way. Again, the offensive line. Hey, I really like this Gibson. The defensive end, and who's the rookie? He's not bad either. So. The Quinn doesn't really bother me a lot. But I think these young kids can play to be determined. It's good to get draft picks because we haven't had any in the last few years.
That is true.
Again, and on a side note, I want Dirty Mike. I want Dirty Mike. I want to show who can really pick games because I know he's afraid of me. And I know that, with my outfit, and he thinks I'm a cowboy, but I know he's kind of a lightweight out there. So if you want to join the podcast and hit me head on and not talk behind my back, I'm ready to go. So, Nikki, I know you trust me more than your brother, so we'll go with that. But I'm going to give you some picks today. My record speaks for itself. And my what is this bolo tie? What's it called?
It's called bolo tie.
Bolo tie.
Yeah.
Well, it's a cam bolo tie. That's
Cameron bolo tie.
It doesn't even work.
Well, you gotta lock it.
Well, that's all right. I'll figure it out later. All right, I'm not afraid. Again, that's my theme tonight. Take Buffalo -12 and Kansas City -12.5.
Wow, that's the chalk.
Because I'm not afraid.
Okay.
Those are my 3-star picks. My 2-star picks are Cincy -7 and Tampa. Don't give up on Brady. He's already got another girlfriend, so we'll go with that. Those are my 2-star picks, and then I know our comrade here, our main man, said I got to pick the Bear game, and I'm sorry to give you bad news, but I'm taking Miami -4.5.
So Bondo, let's say that Miami line goes to 7 somehow. The book gets it wrong. Everyone's pounding Miami. It goes to 7. What do you think at that mark?
Well, if it goes over 6.5, you got to take the Bears. I mean,
like that.
The Bears are, they're not that bad, and again, Fields is progressing. Their running backs are playing well, except that big fumble against Dallas. They did come back, killed it. They killed the game. Offensive line, everybody was all worried about them, and I think they're doing all right. Komet finally got a touchdown catch.
So it's ironic you mentioned the offensive line there. They're actually graded as one of, if not, I think they're top 15 for sure, run defenses. And the fact that they're got a pretty bad pass grade, a lot of that is Field staying in the pocket. But ultimately, I think, again, Braxton Jones, I think, has been doing fantastic for a 5th-round rookie. Jenkins at guard has been very impressive.
Jenkins,
of course.
I told you that in my first podcast.
Yep. And I just think with the injuries that happened with Whitehair, with Lucas Patrick, all that kind of soured it up a little bit. But the young people on the line seem to be stepping up. So
they are, and I'll tell you one thing: Cole Kmet's a hell of a blocker.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's. I think his talent is getting wasted, and the other tight end I think has done a very nice job blocking too. He's caught a couple of passes, but what's his name now? I forget his name.
Not J.P. Holtz. I know who you're talking about. But
well, do your homework. But it's like you're back in college. Oh, and by the way, talking about college, I'm going to give you a 4-star pick on the Illini Saturday. I know this is not. This is
ILL.
Yeah, this is ILL, but this is something that is dear to I know Luke and most you knuckleheads that tune into this thing. But no, the Illini are for real. That DeVito who came from Syracuse, I like him, and I like their defense too. I mean, and their running backs. I mean, this is just because when you guys went there, you never went to a game. I mean, this is exciting. And
Block was great.
Block, well, yeah, that was little I remember of it. But no, I just wanted to give a plug to the Illini and mark my picks. I want to see Dirty Mike on the podcast, and we'll go head to head.
So finishing it out though, just the Bears game. The prediction, obviously, you have Miami winning the game. Keys to the game if the Bears can win it. Dolphins obviously just got Bradley Chubb from the Broncos in a trade for a first-round pick. Ultimately, the defense itself has been shaky. They're 24th against the run. The Bears are a run-heavy team. Claypool, I'm assuming, will get limited action. I don't think he's going to have the full route tree accessible right now. Yeah. But what do you think would be the difference maker in this game?
Well, the difference maker is going to be if we can put pressure on Tua. If we can throw pressure on that guy, I mean, he still has happy feet.
Oh, yeah.
2 concussions.
He did almost die in the middle of a game.
Well, I remember Cam against Joliet Catholic. I mean, going back to that, when, I talked to him after the game, and he didn't even know where he was. But it was probably one of his best games, actually. But a true Koreb. But, no, I think that if we can put pressure on Tua, Chubb isn't going to be. I mean, he'll play, but he won't be. He'll be like Claypool. I mean, they're going to have to figure that out. It's going to take a little bit.
So I agree with you in terms of getting that pressure, mainly because at the beginning of the season, I wanted the secondary to show what their teeth throughout the season, and they're very close to leading the league in total turnovers. Yeah. Interceptions galore. Britzker, very happy to see him get his first one. Gordon also. Eddie Jackson's been a ball hawk. Roquan had 2 picks before the trade. A lot of forced fumbles have been going on out there. I think they're going to clear that 20 mark we had said at the beginning of the season. I think that's going to be the difference, though, making Tua make those bad throws, shorting Tyreek Hill, because, again, he could have a monster game just because our speed in the secondary might be an issue today or Sunday. But as long as we can get him to turn the ball over, that's how I think we win the game.
Well, I think, step on his toes. I mean, a fast guy like that, if you step on his toes a few times when the ref's not looking, that's what we used to do at Highland Park. I mean, we had the faster guys on Deerfield. But, again, Hill's quick. That's going to hurt our guys. But they are physical. We have physical defensive backs, and the running backs, Mostert, I think he's decent, but he's not what we have. And, I think our running attack will be superior to their running attack. So,
I agree with that one. Do you think Fields, though, this season it's been kind of a very weird over-under on passing yards just because he has been using his legs, and I'm loving it, but over 200 yards passing for Fields or under?
No, I think it's over.
Over?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I definitely think it's over. He's proven the last two games that he can. You think of the Giant game, you think of the Washington game, which both we could have really won those games. With the punt failures.
How many passing yards do you think he had though in the Dallas game?
I think it was 163.
It was 154, I believe,
54,
or maybe it was in the 160s. But it's always been under. But with how much offense he generates with the legs, again, you think it's so much higher. But I would love to see a 200-yard game from Fields, continue that development. If Claypool is playing, maybe make one splashy play to him, and then obviously utilize Mooney as best you can. But I think the end of the day is you're going to have to run the ball effectively against them, which I feel confident Getsy's going to do.
Well, I look at that game against New England, and the genius coach you can't defend passing and running. You can't. I mean, your game plan can't adapt to that running attack that he has, and to utilize that, with a spy, you can say they're putting a spy on him, but Belichick's probably the best coach, could be the best coach of all time, but that's what throws everything off. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, the coach on Miami, McDaniel, what's his name?
McDaniel, the younger guy,
Yeah. He looks lost out there. I mean, he's an analytic guy. He's a guy that he's been around. He didn't play the game, maybe in high school, but I really feel that when guys have a quarterback like that, it's really, really hard to get a solid game plan against them. And that's why I think, although the Bears losing those guys, I think if it goes to 6 or 6.5 or 7, but I bet the student loan on it. Oh, that's right. You guys don't have to pay your student loans back. I forgot about that.
That linebacker core is going to be an issue, though. We're going to probably see that front and center. If they do choose to run the ball or run those slants up the middle, it's going to be kind of a nightmare game at some points. But that's all the time we have today here at the Bourbon Bear. Make sure you're tracking Bondo's bets to keep him honest. But bear down, my friends. Let's hope for a W Sunday. Bears.
Bear down, and I want Dirty Mike. Just get better bourbon, though, next time.